Okay, so are we live now?
Yep, we should be there. Let me go ahead and turn off our... We got about 9 more minutes, so...
Okay.
And for those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, you can use the live chat, and we'll be starting in just a few more minutes.
I'm going to stop my mic and camera just for a second. I need to go check on something, and I'll be back in about a minute.
Okay.
Remind me, I want to mention, or talk briefly about some changes in the printing technology that we're using.
Okay.
Because I think that's going to be relevant to some of our users, especially if they've been printing with us for a while. So anyway, I'll be right back. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, I had to get some water.
Go
And also check
ahead and get our banners off here.
the framing department on just see where they're at as far as with current order volume. So are we about ready to start?
Yeah, we're ready to start. Let me go ahead and take all of our stuff off here. Just get us paused on the music out here, and let's take off this banner. And hello.
Hello.
Well, this is
why is your caption say FinerWorks Melissa and mine says James Theopistos FinerWorks?
Because you typed in your whole name.
Oh no,
mine. I think
is
mine and
before
yours.
Melissa. Should it be the other way, or maybe I'm backwards? I guess I'm backwards. Anyway,
either way,
that's not relevant, I guess. So,
well, yeah, this is an annual thing we've been starting, kind of our end of year, and then we always do in January, kind of our what's new coming up. So, we're comboing this evening with an end of year, and then we're going to jump into some tips to help people preserve their fine art prints. So that'll be something that we'll have in there. And if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, you can use the live chat feature. And, if you're on YouTube, like I said, if you want to watch this also later, this will be rebroadcast later as well to watch on there. And you can put your comments in there and we will do our best to get those answers to you. A couple of things, I guess, to talk about. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And that's always the best. Here, let's go into Chrome tab. So that way I don't have to have that long thing on here. Let's see. First, on our site, things that we have going on. This sale ends this evening, James, the 40% on Hammermill Fine Art Papers.
Actually, it's been extended. Yeah, through tomorrow.
Okay.
So yes, we extended it just about 20 minutes ago. So that's why you.
When I checked it, it was still on there. Okay.
20 minutes ago, it was December 6th, and then, so we did extend it. Some people had contacted us about wanting to take advantage of the special, but couldn't today. So we went ahead and extended that. And then we do have another special coming up that was supposed to start tomorrow, but we may put it off till Thursday. I can't say for certain what it'll be, but it will involve framing. But that's one of the reasons why I went back there. I need to just check on their progress right now because of the holiday season. Our framing department is saturated with orders, so we have a lot of frame inventory that we need to still use up, but it's a balancing act between them being able to actually have the capacity to handle the orders, but also utilizing the excess molding volume that we have in certain areas. But they're making some real progress because of the overtime that they're working. So we hope to have some framing specials either tomorrow or Thursday for people to take advantage of. And so just stay tuned. Check
on your newsletter. Open your newsletter. We'll have it in there.
Yeah, and we'll post it as well. So
And that's something to note too. I know a lot of people, especially as we get new customers, who ask, why don't we have like a lead time up to our promotion, like this promotion's coming. And a lot of it is because you do have to do a balancing act on it by what, inventory we have, what is the production volume like right now. So that's kind of the reason we can never really let everybody know. The only thing that we have had, I want to say traditionally since the 5 years I've been here, has been Cyber Week. So, and traditionally, actually, I don't remember us having sales right after Cyber Week this close. So this is
No,
really an
yeah,
extension.
yeah. It's kind of weird because the way Christmas fell last year versus this year, technically it's only like anyway. It just kind of worked out that way. We wanted to um, we one of the things we did is compared to last year is we hired more staff.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of artists, a lot of photographers may have told me that they're experiencing a downturn in order volume themselves for their fine art prints. We're seeing some of that, although we just because of our growth, we're actually on par with last year. But
Mhm.
we have hired more people, so even though we're doing about the same volume that we did last year, we have more staff this year. Um, and so yeah, so we're trying to kind of doing our best to get the orders out. But last year we wanted to have more specials right after Cyber Week, and we just didn't feel like we were able to. This year, I think we can do so.
Yeah. And like I said, a lot of people are appreciating those sales, especially on Hammermill paper.
Yeah,
The other thing that people want to note on the website is our holiday deadlines, which are coming up this Sunday. It starts,
yeah,
and
those are pretty much set in stone. Although, again, I'm going to talk to I'm going to talk more to framing. Probably, I'll know by Friday whether or not we need to make any adjustments uh, on the frames. We frames can take a longer uh, time just in general to produce for our frame print orders, and so we usually set those as that deadline pretty early, but we might be able to extend it. We'll see.
yeah,
Uh, the other items, it's we kind of play it by ear. Sometimes we say, okay, yeah, we can maybe push things that would like the ceramic tiles. We could probably push those to December 13th, but a lot of it also has to do with what we have in stock. We
mhm,
set these knowing that someone come in and wipe out our entire inventory, then we have, and when that like the ceramic tiles, someone orders 100 ceramic tiles, which or even 200 ceramic tiles in one order, and suddenly it's like, oh no, that's all we had. We have to hurry up and order some, and so we have to the the restock might take us a week to get in, and then we're almost on Christmas by then. So it's always yeah, we always have to kind of see if we can extend it or not. And sometimes people will contact us, ask us, hey, I know it's the deadline was already passed, but is it still possible to get that canvas print or what have you? And if you're in that situation, contact us, and we'll let you know whether or not it's feasible or not.
yeah. So just pay attention to these different deadline dates, especially in regards to what you're promising on your Etsy's and stuff like that. We want to make sure that everybody gets their Christmas orders in on time. Let's see, we had a new product that actually came out just close to this, which was the ornaments. And
Mhm.
we do have that on there. So just make sure that if I have a feeling that's a big holiday um, favorite now is having the
Yeah,
ornament. We have been asked about ornaments for a good while now. And Let me see. When does that fall on for the deadline?
It should be
The
the
12th?
12th. Is it on there?
Let me
May not
see.
even, because you know what, we added it before after that list was made, so
Yeah,
I don't think it's on there. But it would be on
the 12th.
the 12th. Um, 13th, 14th, 15th. Yeah, yeah, on the 12th. So yeah, it might be something that we're able to extend. Some of those items I know we will be able to extend past the
Mhm.
12th. The Christmas ornaments, so they kind of took us. We expected to do okay, but man, they really we really underestimated their popularity. Um, Obviously, time of year, but we didn't think adding them this late would in the season would be a you know we thought, okay, we probably should have added them earlier on in the year. We said, okay, well, we'll add them close to December so we don't get overwhelmed with Christmas ornament orders. Well, uh, adding them late in the year, closer to Christmas, probably really didn't make much difference.
I think we would have seen it either way.
Either way, it was and they make amazing gifts for that for artists to be able to sell. I know we know some artists that are putting their artwork on ornaments, and
Hmm.
basically most when we put these out there, we were thinking, okay, more mainly probably just people putting their photos on the ornaments. But man, they make killer gifts with with people's artwork on them. It was, so yeah,
Yeah, they really do. We have a local customer that's in a very touristy traffic area here in San Antonio and La Villita, and they have artwork that features the Alamo, very folklorical kind of art, and it has fit so perfect in the shapes that we have, and they look beautiful. I That was like kind of a neat thing to be up here up front and having um, customers come in and pick up their ornaments, and you just get to hear the gasp, like, "Oh wow!"
oh
They're
yeah,
really impressed with them. Even among, I think, employees, they are a favorite. I know I need to put my order in
yeah,
soon too.
yeah.
Um, so this was
But
a great new feature that we recently just added.
Yeah, a new product, brand new product. Now, what's really cool about these is if any of our users have ordered our metal prints, the Chromolux metal prints, it's essentially the same type of product. It's the image is dye sublimated to the metal, but it's done on both sides. So
Mhm.
the same picture is put on both sides of the ornament,
Yeah,
and so it's you know
let's see if I can.
high end photo quality printing. So obviously, if you do, some of your someone does their art, or graphics, that they're going to be full color and really wide color gamut. So yeah, it's a really cool product. I even ordered a bunch to give as gifts myself.
Yeah, let me see. I think I have a thing here we can show from because our customer had let us use it for our uh, social, and we kind of did a quick video on there that just shows you that it's both sides there, as James was explaining. And
Yeah.
again, they were just they really and that's artwork on it, and the artwork was the children kind of shaped as a tree, so this came and fell in perfect for this artist.
Yeah. Now the sale did end though. By
Yeah,
the way,
that's it. This was it. That one ended, like I said,
that was yeah, that was from during the sale. Yeah.
yeah, when we first had that one out. But yeah, some of our social, you'll be able to find some of our stuff there. Um, we had a lot of stuff that was brand new though this year. It seems like every month had some kind of new feature on the site, new product coming out. I was looking back at everything that we've had and just kind of trying to do some from our newsletter and stuff. In February, we had released digital downloads,
Yeah.
which was a feature a lot of people had been asking and requesting. And hi, Dono, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you tuning in and everything. If you have any questions, just use that chat box and we'll be glad to answer them. But yeah, digital downloads came in, and how have you seen the popularity on that, James? I was just
From what we've seen, it's used quite often. It's not a something that everyone uses. A lot of times people will it goes back to we used to get a lot of people requesting from us to send them the files that they upload because maybe their hard drive had crashed and they couldn't recover the files that they originally had uploaded. And it was driving our customer service team crazy because with the amount of users on our site every day, it was a constant request, or it was a very frequent request, and it would be a lot of work for us to do. So we decided, well, let's make it possible for the users to be able to download those. Now, we do charge a small fee because one of the things we were also running into is the cost associated with storing images, because we're not charging our users to store the images. Now, we're not trying to be a Dropbox, but we realize that that there is, or we feel the cost associated with storing those files. So we needed a way to help try to offset some of that cost as well. But the bottom line is it's been a very useful tool for people. We no longer have people contacting us to retrieve their files because it's really easy to do. So I think we charge, for a download, what, $1 or $2 or something?
Yeah, $1.50 per link.
$1.50. And what it does, it creates a link that gives you
Oops, let me go ahead.
like 3 days, I think, 72 hours to download that, 48 or 72 hours to download that file. Then it expires. And I know we had some, I'm not sure exactly how they're utilizing it, but there are people that sell digital downloads via their website. And they're using that link as a way to, so people, providing that link as a, where people are selling downloadable content of their image files. So it's a kind of can also serve as that.
Okay. Oh, actually, my thing is still not showing what I wanted to see. Let me see. Stop sharing there. Did not share screen. Let's see. Trying to, seems to be responding only to Chrome tab. So let's do that. So this is and just a reminder that digital download link is only available in your inventory files. So these do have to be, it's a completely different server than your temporary files. So that's where you would find that create download and be able to do that file link.
Yeah, that's right. You set the expiration, how long you want that to be available.
Yeah, so you have from 1 day to 7 days on there to select.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just another, thing that we had on here. And I think, let's see, what else did we have coming up this year? We introduced new floating framed acrylic prints also this year.
Yeah, very popular. A lot of people like these, and we so was it a year, no, it was about a year and a half ago, we introduced flatbed printing technology, which
Mm-hmm.
enabled us to uh, offer things like the floating framed acrylics, which were basically the images printed directly on acrylic glass, which is the same acrylic glass that's used for picture frame. And so we print the image on the back end, or the back side, or in reverse, I should say, and then a white layer behind that, and then we just insert it in a frame, and it makes a stunning wall art piece. And so, yeah, we call them our floating framed acrylic prints, and they look fantastic. Obviously they're not going to be as crisp and sharp. They're going to look a little bit more grainy than a regular photo print because of the nature of the printing technology. But from arm distance away or further, they look really nice.
And we print those on our premium clear acrylic. Is there a difference if it got printed on any of our other acrylics? Like,
We so we, I when we designed this product, we did some tests with the well, first, we're not concerned about UV damage because these are UV inks. So we're just using the standard premium clear acrylic that don't have any UV inhibitors. Um, uh, but we did test it with the the
reflection control?
reflection control. Yeah, the non-glare reflection control. And I don't like to me, it looks a little diffused when we do it that way. So or the image it just doesn't pop as much. So we've decided to forego that for now. We're going to probably revisit that once we possibly as soon as January. And the reason why we may revisit that is because we're planning on reprofiling our flatbed printing system. Right now, the software that we use to print, we don't feel that it outputs to the or we're able to output the color gamut that printer is capable of doing. And so we want to switch to a different software program that we believe will be able to give us better control on the color. And I think once we have that nailed down, then we will be able to experiment with like a non-glare acrylic.
Yeah. And we did also release a video not too long ago on decal style printing onto acrylic glass. And that kind of basically is like our stickers with a contour, and you want to give, I guess, let's say like a trefoil look of the shape. You just want the shape to be showing, correct? That's what the
Yeah, and actually, we're going to probably modify that as well, because we have been, one of the things we've done this fall is we've done some major software upgrades with our printing and how we process files. And the format of the way we're processing the files now is the process of creating that print in that decal mode is not as complex. Doesn't require utilizing layers and things like that. Or won't have to require that.
Yeah.
So we're switching. So we're going to. We have to do some things on our end to accommodate it, but essentially, what we're anticipating is, as long as you submit a PNG or a TIFF with a transparent, anything in the transparent background area, then or won't be printed. But anything that's not transparent will be printed with a white layer. So that will give you that method of creating decal style prints.
Now, is the white layer is a white layer optional? This is something we've had a customer ask in the past that kind of wanted to create a stained glass look to it and have no white on it. Will that be an option for people to go ahead?
Because that's dealing with opacity levels of the white or the inks themselves. And while we can control it at the, within the software, we don't have a way of automatically, capturing that intent and passing that onto the printer. The only way we can tell the printer to print partially opaque is it would have to be a manual process. And so there's nothing to really bridge the customer's intent to the actual printed piece. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
again,
so-
and if you have any questions about that, just customercare@finerworks.com, and we can go into more. But like James is saying, that is not going to be something we're going to be able to easily have for you to do on there and ask. So we wouldn't be able to get your intent on there. So
I know it can be. You can set opacity level up for layers and Photoshop and so forth, but the software that actually processes those files is not able to properly translate that opacity setting. Only if it's either fully opaque or transparent. There's no kind of halfway opaque or what have you.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that we had coming out that was new, I'm guessing the way to get to it is probably in the framing, is that we had the new float frames, but unfinished, because we had a bunch of this, the DIY, but we also were able to make float frames here for the thick and thin canvases. So that, because the DIY frame has been a pretty popular molding, because people get to stain it the way they want to do it, or really customize their frame with just an unfinished wood color.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it's really opens the door for a lot of painters that want to put their paintings in a float frame, but want to either stain it or really kind of customize the look of that frame. Obviously, the shape is static, but they can really they can become or apply that same creativity for that original piece to the frame itself, or a canvas print. They can really kind of make the frame and as a part of that artwork. So it's kind of a really cool thing to be able to do that. It's and I know people have asked what kind of wood is it. It's an what do you call it? AYOUS wood. It's basically it's not a real heavyweight wood. It is solid wood, but it's kind of a lighter weight wood.
And now, James, it just kind of with framing, while we're on a frame product, wood in general is going to be going up in cost, correct?
Well, it's been going up in cost. Let me back up on that. The wood prices have been going up and down. They've been this past year, but they have just overall gone up. Where the problem with framing, and we will see some price increases next year. In January, I don't have the actual. I can't tell you what or which frames are going to go up, but the problem associated with frame moldings right now with pricing of frames is really the cost to get them here. A lot of the frame molding companies they're buying, they purchase molding in bulk, okay, from overseas in many cases. There are some companies, here in the United States that actually make frame moldings, but the bulk of it is being made overseas, much of it in Asia. If not Asia, a lot of it's also coming from Italy. Getting those cargo shipments in is much more expensive than it had been before. Obviously, fuel costs, everything going up, and in many cases the molding companies are not bringing in as much of a particular molding, so that leads to product shortages because not with the supplier necessarily, but in some cases, yeah, the supplier, they might not be making as much in certain countries, but many times the molding companies aren't bringing in as much. So um, um, yeah, so that's what's happening, and then because of the increased cost, the molding companies are charging more. Um, it's not just one particular thing. It's fuel, it's resources, commodities, all that combined, causing the frame prices to really. So some of our suppliers, their prices have really skyrocketed. Others, and they've gone up, but not as much as certain companies, which I won't name right now.
But and something to note though is that I know when we get new customers that are looking to have us frame out some of their stuff, um, is asking for the discount. Now our prices are, I guess it's the volume that we
Yeah.
purchase. We're able to roll a really significantly low price on there. I mean, look, this is at a 8x10 now. This is the Hudson, which is more pricey
Mhm.
molding. It's 3 inch. I have some artists that do amazing sales on this on geo galleries. Um,
But
and
it's a very expensive molding. And now when with and one of the things I should mention is you get what you pay for when it comes to frame molding. If you go to a Hobby Lobby or Michael's and you buy uh, really nice looking frame and you buy it an 8x10 frame for $12.
mhm,
Well, a $12 frame, the construction of it, the materials,
the joins.
the joins, so much different than that's same size frame that's $84. Uh,
Mhm.
and we do have cheap, inexpensive frames, okay,
Yep.
but don't expect those to be of the same caliber of what the more expensive frames are going to be. They're it's a night and day difference between the quality, but we do have quite a range because not everyone can afford an $84 8x10 frame. Now you
Mhm.
get that. Now on the other side of that, that same $84 8x10 frame, if you have it done by a custom frame shop, which many custom frame shops will carry that particular molding, you'll probably spend $200. So
Exactly.
yeah, so
You might even
uh,
spend that with your employee discount at those frame shops.
yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think your testimony to that is a lot of the frames that you get here
Yeah.
at FinerWorks, your previous employer, you
I had my
get
employee
more
discount.
with your employee discount.
Yeah, my employee discount was still probably, 5 times higher than our regular price just everybody's price that they see on our
Yeah.
site. So I always tell people, my God, the frame prices here are great.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple of my former employees that worked at the other end ordering a couple of frames, moldings, and stuff off of here. But yeah, this is, and our website is set for that. If you don't need to call and get a quote. That's what's a great kind of thing of our site. You can go in and just as I was doing under framing and go into your moldings, start putting your site thing, and you can build this out if you want to, just if you're like curious to see, well, what would it cost if I added that to a print or something here, and you would just kind of play around here and add your glass, add your windows here, obviously for your mat. Um, and you'll be able to kind of take a look at some of these prices here. So put it in here like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and we don't want to fleece the customer. We're not trying to fleece the customer on the frame prices, but just, and I think many artists that have been around the block, especially when it comes to framing, realize, uh, you know, picture frames can be a very expensive addition. So we try to make it give people the same quality that they can find at their local corner frame shop, but at a much lower price.
Yeah. And we offer
Yeah.
this was this new this year, James, the shell pack of 3, or was
No,
that just
we've had
last?
that for probably a couple of years now.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think I've seen more people take advantage of it, I think this year, or at
Yeah,
least I've been asked about it more. Um,
and the
is
shell pack in the framing industry, a shell is just the frame by itself. There's no hardware with it. There's like hanging hardware. There's no of those pins that are used to keep the artwork. It's just the frame itself. And people that order the shell pack usually are they may have some framing tools to assemble the artwork and put it in the frame.
yeah.
So it's kind of a inexpensive. It's a way to save some extra money on frame, especially if you like to assemble the artwork in the frame yourself.
Yeah, and we do have customers that do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. The other thing that we introduced this year, also in June, was our new premium Giclée Bright White. And that was breathing color, correct?
Yeah, it's so the breathing color is famous 600 MT. It's we have two versions of it, and the sister company of a breathing color, I believe, is responsible for the premium Giclée paper. And they have two versions, just kind of regular white and then a bright white. And so we added the bright white, which under the breathing color name this year, not realizing prior to until I had a discussion with one of our breathing color representatives, how popular that paper was and how much in demand that was. We were already offering the same paper under the name Premium Giclée, but without the bright white. But we knew from experience with our watercolor bright white that people love the bright white concept. When I say concept, they like a fine art paper with a very bright whites, because what that does is that gives that many cases expands the potential color gamut. And we this kind of goes back to one of the things that I started to allude to earlier is some changes in the printing technology. We've and I guess this is a good time to go into that. But with the bright white, it's the same as our regular premium Giclée, just with a brighter white point. And so one that gives you a wider expansion of color. Okay, so think of the number of a box of crayons. Okay, let's say whereas before you had a box with so many X number of crayons. Okay, when you add that bright white element, that bright white surface, suddenly your box of crayons becomes much a higher quantity. You have more colors that you can work with. Now, part of that, it was my goal this year has been to make some technology improvements so we could improve the accuracy and output of prints. Now, we're already doing a good job. We're known for highly accurate colors with our prints. As long as the files is properly prepared, you're going to get really good and accurate color. And we provide a lot of tools to help people, information on soft proofing, or we provide ICC profiles. So one of the things that we did is we switched the software program that we were utilizing to do the printing with. Now, the software program, two reasons. One, we were really kind of just chugging along. We were running into speed issues due to the amount of files that we had to process, and the amount of bandwidth that our internal network was handling, sending all these files to all these giant printers that we have here. And we really kind of outgrew the previous software we had. The other thing is we started not relying so much on the manufacturer's ICC profiles, but creating our own custom profiles. So with all that, we brought in a new industry standard printing software program. For those geeks out there, it's called Onyx. So we switched to Onyx, and that for all of our printing, there are some exceptions. For let's say 90% of our printing, maybe even 95% of the printing is now on all these different printers is done via this one program. It allowed us to not only improve the efficiency of the printing, but also expand the colors, because this program is able to do things that if you were to print from Photoshop or Lightroom on your inkjet printer at home, you wouldn't be able to do. So it was, not only were we able to expand tones by adding things like the bright white, but we're also able to expand tones by printing on a more just a higher end software application. Now, it's not like huge, we're not talking like big differences, but we do get customers occasionally contacting us and say, hey, I don't know what it is, but the prints have maybe better contrast now, or better saturation, whereas before they seemed on a specific paper a little bit more muted. So yeah, we're able to improve the color saturation and improve the contrast in many cases where it was before we couldn't.
So James, with that, there's customers who may see a difference in maybe the prints that they had been ordering previously, and maybe a batch going out sometime this month, and So,
or over the past couple months. Yeah. And that's, you might notice some slight differences, very slight in most cases.
mhm.
Um, we're, these jumps in technology and color changes for for printers, is like, wow, look at
Mhm.
how big an improvement it is. For the average person, it's like, uh,
I don't see it.
I don't see it. Okay, so yeah, we get a little geeked out on this stuff, but
Yeah.
um,
I
yeah,
wasn't as much of a geek until I started working here, and now I'm like,
yeah,
oh, you
yeah.
go feel papers at places now.
Us color snobs, it's,
Yeah.
we notice these things a little bit more. Um, no, yeah, these differences are quite minor, but one of the things that we some of this we're kind of forced into because of changes within the printing technology. For instance, we're running a combination of, for our fine art paper prints, we use, I think we got a dozen or so, or close to a dozen, Canon Pro 4000s and 4100s. And they're almost identical printers. The 4100 has a slight edge, and again, and this edge is so minor, so minute that you're not going to. Most people aren't going to notice the difference. But we on certain papers we do see improvements in more accurate, better contrast with the 4100. Sometimes though, people say, hey, I like it with the 4000. That's
Mhm.
great, but unfortunately printing technology changes. For instance, we're running into, with the 4000s, as those as parts fail on those, we find we can't get replacement parts, so we have no choice but to just put it out to pasture and order a new 4100 to replace it. So what happens is, if, let's say, the Hahnemuhle hemp eco paper, and I'm right off the bat, I'm not sure if it's on the 4100 or the 4000, but if that's printed on the Canon 4000, or was printed on the 4000 at one point, but then needs to go switch to the 4100, then we need to create a new profile for it. So what happens is we have to create a whole new ICC profile. So if you've been soft proofing, or or we have to acquire a new ICC profile if we're using the manufacturer's profile. So if you're doing your soft proofing, you may want to just, every few months, check and make sure that you've soft proofed with the latest ICC profiles, because, whereas before we were printing on a paper on a particular model of printer, we may have had to change it because, things beyond our control. So one of the things that I think some of the artists may not realize is that, yeah, you may spend time and effort soft proofing and getting your image perfect and storing that in your virtual inventory, but but understand that it's not going to stay that way, where we're printing on that, using that exact same printing technology. So it may be that, a year later, or what have you, that the previous, that this everything that you had set becomes obsolete because of the printer going, no longer being available. So it's just, yeah, it's a moving.
And James, with that kind of occurrence, when somebody runs into that, saying they're like, okay, and they go ahead and they're going to tweak uh, their image, could they go ahead and upload the new file that's tweaked to the new ICC profile, and I guess go to their products here, and I guess you would go to what would it be? I guess use
Yeah.
template as a new item as
Right.
a virtual
Yeah.
inventory.
Right now, we don't have a swappable.
No, but would they just go ahead and add the image?
Yeah,
You
they
know,
would add the image, but just understand that those products would not be tied to that new image.
but they could build it that way, right? I mean, they could
They
get the
would
new
have to, yeah, they would have to build a whole new set of virtual inventory.
Mhm. So that they make sure that their inventory stays the same. They could go ahead and just
They wouldn't be able to copy their old inventory over. They'd have to build
not directly copy, but they could use the template version
Yeah,
of it, right, on the
yeah,
options, and
yeah.
then just kind of pick the new file, and it would slowly build it over, correct?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so that is one option in there
Yeah.
to use.
Yeah. And again, this is not something that is really, there's not a perfect solution for this. It's just printers
It's growing
changes.
pains.
Well, not even growing pages. Just it's the nature of the business. I was last month. I was at a trade show for printers, and uh, printers that uh, customers would rely on. I'm not just industry wide, just in printing. Okay, uh, have been, you go there and you see the latest printers that Epson rolls out, Canon, Mamaki, what have you, and you say, well, you talk to the vendors, say, hey, well, I got a question about, I have a older printer, I have the previous generation or a couple generations ago, and I'm starting to run into this issue with it. What do you suggest? And their frank response is usually, well, get a new printer, because they don't support the old printers anymore. They don't make the parts for those old printers anymore. So what do you do? I know of a local photo lab that, or a photo lab that does more traditional photo prints, that had to add some brand new uh, photo printers, because their old ones, they couldn't just fix them anymore. They had to buy new stuff. So yeah, that's just, yeah. Uh,
And I think when I say growing pains, I meant like growing pains in the industry as far as like the technology goes. So
yeah, and the technology is always going to be changing.
exactly.
It's going to be, there's new ink systems on the horizon that we're seeing with companies like Canon. We're starting to see that's going to kind of, once those become mainstream, it's going to really turn everything upside down. If you've profiled for our archival matte paper, and you've soft proofed and you got everything dialed in just right, you may have to do it again, 5 years from now, because a whole new ink system is now out there, and we no longer can use the previous ink system, or printers like us no longer are using the previous ink system. It's just, yeah, the industry is constantly changing. So it's not so it's not never look at it when you're soft proofing your print, never look at it as a permanent thing, especially when we're talking, this is a print on demand environment. With print on demand, we're having to change as the technology changes.
Yeah.
So, but it's I don't want anyone to feel worried, because these changes, again, for us color people, it tends to be a big deal, but for the average person, it's like
Yeah. Okay. Well, another thing in improvement that we did also in June was we had the newsletter out on improve artisan canvas with resin inks. Do you want to go in a little bit about our resin inks that we brought in?
That is one of the examples of the of changing technology, and even the resin inks is, so going back a few years, companies like HP introduced what they call latex inks. It was kind of an alternative to solvent, which are more just not less environmentally friendly. Also, they were looking at inks that were more durable, more scratch and smudge resistant. Solvent inks are very scratch and smudge resistant, and the only thing that generally that is more durable is UV inks. UV inks, which are cured by UV light, generally have a much lower color gamut. Again, the number of colors that you have in a box. That's an analogy. Solvent inks tend to have a wider gamut, and so do these latex inks. Well, Epson decided to take it one step further and essentially utilize the latex option, which they felt, or something similar to latex, but create something called a resin ink. Similar concept. Basically, it's pigments encapsulated by a resin. Okay, and so the inks are very durable, have an extremely wide color gamut, and are great for things like signage and canvas prints. So we were, on the fence. Do we bring in more solvent technology, or could we utilize the new resin technology? Well, we felt that the solvent technology was just there's nothing wrong with it. We use our Epson Eco Solvent printers, but we felt that the resin option, which was similar to the HP latex, was a better choice. We felt that the color gamut was a little wider, obviously wider, like I said, wider than the UV, and the durability was excellent. And so we were just looking for ways we could streamline and keep very consistent color. And once we realized, hey, this is awesome, we then expanded it to include with our matte canvas as well. It's kind of the wave of the future. I think the aqueous giclée prints, that the aqueous pigmented inks that we're using now is going to be not phasing out, but certain products like canvas prints and maybe you'll even see certain fine art papers are going to start taking advantage of these differing ink technologies. And the resin inks are just one example. There's some other types. There's some UV options, which are we may see, within a few years, that may start to even rival that. Maybe even start to rival aqueous. So, which means extreme ranges of color with extreme durability. And I think that's going to be, once that happens, that's going to be incredible, because, we all laugh as, we joke that certain medias like the Hannibal William Turner, which is a favorite with many, is, I always say, is so delicate that if you look at it wrong, it'll scratch.
Yeah.
But I think those, some of these really high-end fine art papers, which are extremely delicate, uh, you know, that you won't have to worry about that as much. You'll be able to handle them without damaging them. You'll start to be able to frame some of these paper prints without the need of glazing, even just with the print exposed, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think another thing that we introduced was another product was the acrylic plaques this year, which is kind of along the same line as our float frame, sort of. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and you know, with the float frames, I probably should have corrected myself. I realized this and then forgot to bring it up. But the float frames, we don't have that decal print option, whereas the plaques we do.
Okay.
So we're going to bring the, once we kind of finalize how you set it up, we're going to kind of reintroduce how to configure your image for that decal mode printing. So it's a much easier, simpler process.
Yeah.
And it says, and part of it's because we're in the process of bringing in t-shirt printing. It's taken longer than expected, just because it's taken longer to get the supplies in. But we want people to be able to print black or print color on black t-shirts, full color. And as many people know, generally with printing, you know, you don't have white ink, with some exceptions. Well, with our t-shirt printing, we do. But we want people, let's say if it's a picture of a, you know, I don't know, picture of a stop sign. Okay. Well, it has a unique shape. You want to maybe print out just that stop sign on a black t-shirt. Well, what do you do with all the, you know, normally if you printed on white paper, you don't have to worry about, you know, everything, you know, around that sign. Just provide a picture of a stop sign and, you know, or graphic of a stop sign, and it prints, you know, you just see the stop sign. You don't see the white around it because most printers don't print white. Now, if you did that on an acrylic plaque, what would happen is you wouldn't have just the stop sign printed. You'd have all the, you know, you'd have the white surrounding, the white space surrounding that, the contour of the stop sign. And so how do you isolate just to print the stop sign? And so only, you know, so there's a layer of white that follows the contour of that stop sign, that octagon shape. And so being able to do that on a t-shirt or acrylic plaque, we're going to, you know, kind of reset how you need to, you know, provide that file, make it very easy. And essentially it's just, again, it's just, you make everything that you don't want printed white transparent.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll come up with a video for that.
Yeah, so I think some people know exactly what I'm talking about. Some people watching or scratching their head, what?
Yeah, and want everybody to kind of learn how to do that. So we'll give you some steps on how to do that. The other thing that we did this year in launch, we had been waiting I think last year on it, was if you go under fulfillment, was ArtZip. So we kind of partnered up here with ArtZip. This is a great way to go ahead and use your cell phone to take photos, kind of like in a panoramic thing where you would take sections of it and it stitches for you much of what like Lightroom does. And it's at an affordable price.
And they've been making some improvements as well.
Yes.
Upgrades. So so if you used ArtZip, and I know a lot of people have, but if you haven't used it in the past month, you may want to
try it again.
Try it out again, because they've made some great improvements.
Yeah. And then this year you did do an update with our virtual inventory to kind of get that Shopify.
Yeah, Shopify, Squarespace primarily are the two. Want to try so that you could easily move over your virtual inventory from those two platforms
Mm-hmm.
to those two platforms. And so it's still a work in progress. I mean, it's we're constantly receiving feedback as to ways we can improve it.
Yeah.
We're trying to do it within the confines of what Squarespace or Shopify allows us, because sometimes people come to us and say, "Hey, can you do this?" And say, "Yeah, we'd like to, but yeah,
Yeah.
Shopify let us, or Squarespace."
I think one of the common ones has been, can we move our from FinerWorks inventory over to and setting up inventory, no matter the platform, is a cumbersome thing when you're doing drop shipping.
I will say this, that Shopify has, to many people's distaste, has implemented a very a fairly strict process in order for apps to be able to be utilized. We're listed now, or within their app store, I guess you call it, their app marketplace. Obviously, the apps doesn't cost you anything, but they've put some strict rules, which I understand, because you
need the conformity.
Yeah, it creates a lot, but unfortunately, sometimes their app people are the people that manage that don't really know what they're doing.
Well,
But
it's
yeah,
good in theory, but from the user interface side, it's
from a third party developer, when they tell two different things,
yeah.
or they yeah, it's they've been very difficult to work with. Squarespace, on the other, is much easier finding. Obviously, it's not as robust as Shopify, but if you're just my recommendation now is, if you're just starting a website, you may want to take a look at Squarespace. Shopify, the interface it's not as advanced. They don't have as many options as Shopify, but it is easier to use, I think.
Yeah.
But FinerWorks has a Shopify store so we use it extensively internally as well. Not at FinerWorks. We have another a sister site that we use it with. So we have a lot of experience as both an end user of Shopify, as well as a company that has to integrate with Shopify.
Yeah.
So we feel it on both ends. So
yeah. And I wanted just to clarify, because I know we get a lot of, can you help me with my Shopify? Can you help me with my Etsy, my Squarespace, at customer service? Just note, our customer service reps, they can assist you in the direction of where to go for the integration, but
they're not tech support people.
Exactly. They're not tech support people. And in some cases, you really need to ask the platform site, their customer service, to go ahead and help you, because if you see something where the integration, and if you want to copy paste, you can do that. Some people have sent us videos of workflow, which is a lot more helpful.
Yeah, because a lot of times people will email us and say, "Hey, I'm trying to get my virtual inventory to sync," or what have you, and they're very vague, and sometimes, unless you know the technical jargon, you might really be not able to quite explain what the problem is.
Yeah, it's hard to articulate.
So we may have an answer which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense or be very applicable to the issue that you're experiencing. So if you can provide, if you do have questions about, your integration with Shopify, Etsy, or Squarespace, again, our customer service team is not able to always provide support, but if you can provide some screenshots, some video casts of the problems that you're experiencing, then they can send it up the chain to see if this is something that we can answer. Because a lot of times we just don't know how to answer these questions because the problems that are thrown our way are either too vague or not explained appropriately. So
and in some instances, we still need to contact the platform and figure out why is maybe this aspect of integration not working.
Yeah, many times, we, like, for instance, we're investigating an issue with Shopify right now that we're trying to figure out if this just suddenly popped up or if just certain people. We have had other issues that only certain people experience for whatever reason on the Shopify platform. Other people don't. So it's a lot of, let's look at this order. Let's look at that order. Let's compare. How are they similar? How are they different? And so, and we can't find that out. We have to contact Shopify and say, hey, why is this happening? And unfortunately, a lot of times they don't seem to know. But
that's the hard thing about answering some of the platform or the integration questions. And we don't want anybody to by any means think that we're not addressing their issue, because a lot of the times it is research on our end.
And we're waiting to hear from other people if it's happening with other people, because we can't we can't if we can't replicate the problem, then we have to say, okay, either it's is it happening consistently, okay, with others, okay. And again, Shopify is really bad about this. It almost seems like they have, it's just we see it frequently with Shopify where there's a bug somewhere that's only affecting certain users and not others. And we'll do a lot of patching up. We'll say, okay, using logic, say, well, if this problem occurs, do this versus just do this. Because if we just do A, okay, then it may affect someone else.
Yeah.
So we have to do there's a lot of that with the Shopify, which is disappointing in many cases.
It's a constant Rubik's Cube.
It's constantly moving. Etsy also changed that they've phased out their integration. Their previous integration option for developers, and we only discovered this by accident because it wasn't well. I don't think it was really. Shopify has done some phasing out, but they've been real good at announcing it that they're going to break things. It's not always that good at announcing that they're going to break things. So, but they did announce it, and it just accidentally, but not very well, but by accident, we discovered it, and with only like a week to spare, we revamped the entire Etsy integration, which in most cases is a slight improvement. The vast majority of people didn't notice anything different, but there are a few things that I found were missing, but their old integration system allowed for them to who doesn't. But in general, it's just pretty much it was a fairly seamless.
Yeah, I kind of find doing the website with integrations and stuff like that is really like changing the wheels on a race car while it's in motion, because
Well,
there's just so many moving parts.
yeah, and these different platforms that we're integrated with are constantly changing their own technology, so we have to be on top of when they change. And
Yeah.
one thing we're seeing more people switching over to Order Desk. I think Order Desk is a great bridge, especially if you can run both a Shopify site as well as an Etsy uh, site at the same time, or
Mhm.
Squarespace and Etsy. Um, they do a real good job. They've made some improvements with it. That now we don't integrate with Order Desk. They actually integrate with us, so it's kind of a little bit of a switch. But they integrate with us, and then they integrate with these other platforms. They act as that kind of as a bridge.
Mhm.
And they've added some features to make it easier for people doing like custom like commissioned works to send those plus the appropriate image files to us. Whereas before they only supported virtual inventory products. Now they support what we call product codes, which are uh, designated products that we offer. There's a product code. You'll see it if you are using Post in our ordering system
Yeah.
or in your shopping cart.
Okay.
So they support those product codes, and then they allow you to post where that image you want us to download and print is. So they've really improved their integration with us quite a bit this year. Yeah, that's a product code.
And then, oh, because we're getting close on time, and I want to be able to still kind of go over protecting our prints, but just really quick, because this has come up as a question several times here, especially in customer service. There's a couple items we discontinued though this year. Textured prints, which we brought up, and again, that's also because of time and stuff, and presentation mats that were on our prints and now have gone over to just a regular mat that is, from our framing. Can you kind of address anything as people can use as alternatives? Is there price difference with presentation mats?
Uh,
Uh,
well, with presentation mats that we had, we were what had happened is we had to switch to start utilizing the regular mats because just supply issues. And so we tried that, but we couldn't do it at it wasn't working. So we ended up rather than just take those options away from everyone, we just kind of reformatted and call them just quick mats, but they're essentially just a matted print. It's an easy way to matte prints, but the we ran into so just yes, we need to update those images, but we ran into supply issues with the stock that we're using to create the presentation mat. So,
yeah.
but yeah, those are
So this is the former presentation mats that we were using. It's just kind of like a folder.
yeah, but it's been discontinued. So now, if you order the quick mat, it's just a matted print.
Now, if anybody had virtual inventory that had,
They'll need to manually remove those.
okay,
Yeah,
and recreate them.
otherwise they will. Uh, we don't have the ability to remove them in bulk
Hmm.
because the way that setting was. So they would need to be manually updated within your virtual inventory.
Okay. And our textured prints, is that going to be coming back? We've had a few people who had tried it, liked it, and a few people who still wanted to try it because we had the video still up and people
Yeah,
who have been
we
searching.
had a lot of people who liked it. We had to discontinue it, not because we wanted to, but because we had to. Uh, uh, Producing a textured print takes an extremely long period of time because of the number of layers that has to go over. And we thought when we started offering, we'd get the occasional 16 by 20, 8 by 10s, things like that. What was happening is people were ordering, 5, 10, 30 by 40s textured. And it would literally take 3 days to print that many, 30,
That
three,
size.
yeah, 5. It takes several, 2, 3 days to print that many. And so what was happening was just taking up too much time to print, and other orders, regular orders on die bond or gator board that were printed on that using that same printing method were falling behind. And so we basically just didn't have the capacity to continue to offer it without non-textured orders suffering, because the bulk of our orders on using the flatbed printing technology, which is what the textured printing does, doesn't require texture. We had to say, okay, well, unfortunately, we're going to have to, for now, discontinue it until we can get some more flatbed printers here to make up some of that time that it was taking. So yeah, it was just, I think we bit off a little bit more than we can chew. I mean, it does a fantastic.
I think a lot of printers must have, because I think the technology was there, and a lot of people, and it's gorgeous, but
it was just
what I'm hearing from other customers is they're not able to find other printers who were able to offer that anymore as well. So I'm wondering if that might be.
It's possible that I think a lot of companies that offer realize. So the type of printers that do that are typically used in the commercial industry, and your local sign shop might have a printer like that. And if they're able to, their printers, depend upon the size of the print shop, they might not be running those printers constantly. So there may be plenty of opportunity for that printer to be able to produce those. But if they're running their printer on a steady basis, then they're not going to be able to, just because the amount of time it takes to print those, it just takes so long.
Do you see it coming back to FinerWorks, or do you think it's going to have to be something kind of farther out? As far as
I don't know yet. It's really going to be dependent upon our capacity as we're growing. One of the things we are running into space issues, having enough space for, as we add equipment. We have, cutting systems that we'll be installing soon, and those are going to take up a lot of space. And it's just, physical space for some of this equipment, which is quite large, is becoming more of an issue for us.
Oh, well, like I said, that's all good to know. And I think the last thing is, where do you see production turnaround times for Christmas right now? And
well, we're still catching up on Cyber Week. So orders that normally would take 3 days to ship might take 5 or 6 days, business days. We are working on the weekends as well. I mean, we got people right
today,
now that have came in at 5:30, 6 this morning that are still working.
Yeah.
So we're putting in lots of overtime.
They even put me to work back there too. So
yeah. So I mean, kind of all hands on deck. Although
exactly.
They do like to chase me out of there for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't want you packing anything.
Yeah. Um,
That's good to know. Also, I know customer service wanted me to kind of remind folks, even after Christmas delivery comes on, we have, thankfully, FinerWorks gives the employees our Christmas little bit of a break. So we have Monday and Tuesday off after Christmas. That cuts into our production days of business times.
yeah. Now
And
most orders will have, obviously, Christmas orders will have shipped by them, but
yeah, but these are like when people are trying to get those other orders in. So be aware of some of the production day times that we'll have. So we'll have those days off after Christmas, and then you have the New Year's comes in, and then you have it's like that December through January
yeah, it's
has
always
yeah. So
yeah.
it cuts into production days on the business days on our turnaround. So please note that. And like I said, you can inquire or you can go onto our website. And I just want to show that again one to people is even at the bottom, if you don't have a FinerWorks account, you can go down under help and under order status and tracking and put in your order number and email. That will give you an update on your tracking. Or like I said, if you go to, you do have an account on your account dashboard, you can go into your order history and also take a look at your tracking and stuff on there. So order history is right there and view and track your orders. James, really quick, let's go ahead and give some tips on taking care of the fine art prints, because we were kind of going into that with with us. We have archival inks and media, and that kind of goes into preserving an image onto the paper, the canvas.
Yeah.
So that's one step right there. But we also provide things like archival sleeves, and we sell those as well on our site individually under supplies, the clear bags. But
Yeah, and so one of the things I want to address about the clear bags is that they are a great way to preserve and protect your prints. Now we use them for two things: one, for shipping, okay, and two, as a product that people can order in small quantities. You don't have to order, 100 at a time. Now, one of the things I want to make clear, though, is when you order a print, we may put multiple prints in one clear bag. Okay, so that's why we offer additional clear bags that you can order extra if you need to. Plus, when we use them for shipping, they may not survive the shipping process. So they're not meant as the ones that we're packaging your prints in are not meant for permanent storage. Now they can be used for permanent storage if they survive shipping, but we're not putting those prints in there and say, hey, these are when they arrive, they may be taped to the cardboard, and so if you pull the tape off, the clear bag may tear. That's fine, okay. But if you want bags to store your prints in, then we do have the same bags available to you that you can order. So the clear bags, though, are an excellent way of storing your prints, and you can order them. And we're going to try to add some more sizes. I know we have more sizes that the shipping department uses that we don't have listed here. So I need to go and see what those are and get those added.
The other thing too with you can do is in framing. We offer conservation clear and conservation reflection control glazing on framing to help protect your images underneath that from UV light.
Yeah, and right now the glazing is cut by hand, so it's accurate for the frames. But if you were to order them a la carte, you may have some slight deviation in the size because we're measuring everything out by hand. Now that's going to change in January, where we will be digitally cutting all the frame glazing. So that will mean if you order 8 by 23 sheet of glazing, it will be precise. So because it'll be all machined out from large panes of it. So that'll be good, especially if you buy a frame elsewhere. Obviously, we want you to buy it at FinerWorks, but if you buy a frame elsewhere, you don't have to worry about that slight, deviation in size.
Yeah. And like I think I've known some friends who've done this. Like they've gone and buy frames for their shows, and they may do, like, say, the Amazon, packs. And of course, the frames are going to fall apart when you hang them. But the glare on that plastic that comes, it's like a thin plastic that comes in those cheaper frames. It kills me. So it's usually I tell people, just get the glazing. At least order the glazing, if anything. And
that's why a lot of people order the glazing from us. They'll buy a cheap frame from Amazon, like Melissa said, but then again, it's almost like they're using a very thin sheet of plastic as glazing with those, and you don't want that.
It's a cardboard box around like a V6 engine.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. So so these options that we have are great. The premium clear is going to protect your print from regular handling. You don't have to worry about fingerprints of smudges. If exposed to direct sunlight, there is a potential for the sunlight to damage the print over time, which is why we have the conservation clear as well as the conservation clear reflection control. Those actually have UV inhibitors that help block some of the UV rays that could damage the print over time. And so UV light in general is not, we have prints that are exposed to UV light in our lobby, and you really don't, they've been exposed for, a year or how whatever it is, it's, been, and you don't see any noticeable fading on them. But that's not to mean that, 10 years from now, if they were still exposed to UV light, that you wouldn't have that happen. Yeah. So conservation clear, conservation reflection control are definitely the way to go if your print is going to be displayed in a well-lit area where there's lots of sunlight coming in.
Another thing people can do, and I see it, and especially when you brought up William Turner, when we're talking about what a delicate media that is, I like to tell people that, that is something, it kind of has a distressed look to it. It flakes off. Like people were like, I stored these, I bought a whole, like 25 for 200 prints, and I stored them, and, just that constant rubbing up against each other, they see that white flake in the paper of their ink, like, especially if it's like a solid background.
Oh gosh, yeah. Don't do a solid, whatever you do not do a solid black background on winter.
Or
unless it's a starscape.
Yeah, it's something that's going to hide it. But people, I know Hammermill talks about a spray to go on there. We were talking about liquid lamination, different coatings. How do you feel about the coatings onto our medias?
Yeah, and I think I told you this the other day, is that my feelings on these spray coatings has changed somewhat, especially as these inks have become more durable. But one of the things that these spray coatings do and they don't do. The spray coatings are good to help solidify the inks on the surface of the media that they are printed to. What they don't do is improve the bonding of those inks to the surface that they're printed to. The bonding occurs with inkjet prints, and we're talking about chiclet prints. Chiclet prints are the inks printed to a coated paper. Has a special ink receptive coating. Now, the inks may bond well to that coating, but how well is that coating bonded to that paper itself, the base paper? One of the problems with the William Turner is that base coating does not bond well to the paper itself. The inks bond fine to the coating, but the coating doesn't bond well to the paper. Now, some papers, like the archival matte paper, the coating is well bonded to the base paper, and the inks bond well to the coating. So when you add a spray, like the Hahnemuhle protective coating, it's an aerosol spray, and there's other ones that you can get at your local art supply shop. They'll help to keep those inks, to solidify those inks and make them more smudge resistant and so forth. But if the paper that they're printed on does not have a good bonding with that coating, it's not going to help. So the spray coatings can help, but it's really going to depend upon the particular media that you're printed to. And you can always contact our customer service, say, hey, do you recommend, is the coating going to be, it's not do you recommend, is it going to be really that beneficial on this paper versus that paper? And we can provide that information. The only way to truly, protect a print in a situation where you have the coating doesn't bond well to the surface of that paper, like as an example, the William Turner, is if you actually you laminate it, which for a fine art print, you really don't want to do. There might be times when you can do that, but generally you won't do it. There are liquid laminates out there, which are similar to like the spray coatings, but they're applied at a much more. There's a very thick coating of it. Now, the problem that you run into is whenever you coat an inkjet print with any liquid coating is you lose some of that original, either the original luster or some of that contrast. It takes away from the print. And so you want to keep that in mind. Sometimes people have told us that they use a certain, particular spray, and it seems to just kind of mute the print a little bit. And so that's one of the things that you'll notice with that. Or if it's a matte print, they put too much on it, it develops a little bit of a gloss to it. Now, this was a problem that we were experiencing just in general with our matte canvas. For years, we spray coated the matte canvas. The problem with that, though, was that the spray coat, in order to protect it, do a decent job of protecting it, that spray coating had to be applied in we had to do sometimes 3 coats. And even though it was a matte spray, had a matte finish, when you apply that many coats, it starts to develop a little bit of a satin sheen to it. So this year we ended up switching our matte canvas to utilizing like I said earlier, those resin inks, which didn't require coating. And so we were able to really preserve that true matte appearance on the canvases that our users or customers wanted. And it's less likely to scratch, because even with that, here's the problem we ran into with some of the, and with the matte canvas. It was really good matte canvas, but that coating, that ink receptive coating that the inks bond to, didn't bond well to the canvas. So even with that 3 coats of spray coating, you could still scratch it. Now, it didn't scratch as easily as it would without the coating, but it was still not as durable as we felt it should be. And so that's one of the reasons why we went to the resin ink option. It's a different canvas that doesn't have this. It too has a ink receptive coating, but it's nowhere near as delicate and won't scratch like the other did. So yeah, so that's some of the changes, just because we want our products to be, not only do we want our users to get incredible color gamut, but we want them to be able to be durable and good quality products, not just something that's going to, flake away and fade away, within of months or weeks.
Yeah. And that's something too. I tell people with fine art prints, because I sell fine art prints at the galleries I work, is that um, you kind of are, you offer art at different price points, but there is a preservation to art. For instance, Dolly did block printing, and a lot of those were actually kept in, just stacked on these gorgeous papers, stacked in a warehouse in New York that got flooding. And even though that series might have been like 13,000 in the print series, most of that went underwater, got eaten by silverfish, had UV damage to it. Even when you're buying fine art prints, there's preserving them so that the art is there for later generations is always, like I said, it's something I like to do, because I like preserving my art. I have, like I said, $25 prints in, because I didn't have FinerWorks yet, and I was using museum glass in maybe like an $800 to $1,200 frame. But I know that print is going to be there forever. My kid's already kind of dubbed all the art that she wants when I die, so, because she knows it'll last another generation and it'll make it down another generation. And who knows, maybe I picked enough artists that will return a profit for her. So there's that preservation of it. There's also for artists that when they're doing storage, James, and we were talking about glycine paper with storage. Is that something that you've used with any print papers before? I know I have. I've used glycine.
No, we're actually glycine. The glycine option is kind of almost like it feels and looks like a partially translucent parchment style paper. I guess is kind of the best way of describing it. We're talking with one of our suppliers about offering that, because it's a great, especially if you're going to stack your prints on top of each other, or maybe put multiple prints in the same clear plastic bag. It's a good way of protecting the prints from getting abrasions from the print that above it. So it's a good way of separating prints and keeping them protected, without having to bag each and every one of them. So we're looking at possibly offering that as something that people can order for us, but it is a good another type of paper out there. There's actually acid-free craft paper. Now, we don't use in our shipping department. We use craft paper primarily to fill void in boxes, or we use it to roll prints up in. Now, a lot of times the prints that we roll up, if we can, if the prints are small enough, we'll put them in a clear bag and roll them up in craft paper. But if your prints are too big for some of the clear bags, then they won't be rolled up in. They won't be in a clear bag. They'll be exposed directly to that craft paper. That's fine for a short duration of time, but standard regular craft paper is not acid free. So you don't want to, after that print arrives, you don't want to roll it back up, put it in a tube, and store it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You want to store it in like an acid free craft paper. So just something to kind of keep in mind, that craft paper in general, the craft paper we use as again, it's just for shipping purposes. It's not meant for permanent storage.
And you can always outfit your room with either a flat file, which is something we use at our gallery, is a flat file. And then there is acid-free portfolios. We have them up to about 20 by 24 for big sizes of prints. The paper inside it is rather thin, and it is acid-free, but you may want to go look at backings that'll give you something a little bit better. But again, look for acid-free materials. And those are great especially if you're doing pop-ups or something like that, and you want to display a set of prints for people to go through, and then they can pick, and you have your set of to go ahead and do that.
Acid-free is the key. We have heard of, we'll hear of yellowing of prints that normally wouldn't yellow in the when it comes to giclée prints with the papers we use. The only way that can happen is if they're within a short duration period of time, is if they are exposed to something highly acidic.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that the print was inadvertently, someone inadvertently placed a book on it, or something that may have that just decided to bond with the print.
Yeah.
So it's you do hear occasionally of reports of that, or see stories that on the internet where someone's prints on a on a high-end paper like the Henry line will start to yellow. It's very rare, but most cases it's exposed to some sort of acidic, maybe even in the environment. Vinegar is very acidic, and if you're cooking with vinegar and your print's exposed to the air, you're potentially looking at a disaster.
Yeah.
That print. Now it does occasionally, there could be a situation where there was a defect in the paper itself, came from the manufacturer defective. We've seen instances of that, but that's very rare.
Yeah. Well, we hope those tips help you guys, with keeping your prints in pristine condition to last many, many years. And that's part of the thing, is we try to provide quality materials at the ink and media levels, so that your prints will be there generations after you're gone, after we're all gone. Hopefully the art and everything is still there.
Hopefully,
and for those of you who are going to be living, with the robot bodies, maybe you can let us know, and by then give us a.
If you can out-survive your art, that's a good thing. But
you
want your art to out-survive you, so that your children can benefit from it. Well.
Yeah, so that'll be great. And we guys want to wish you guys happy holidays from all of us at FinerWorks. Bear with us, as during the Christmas season always gets a little nuts. We have a great customer service team that has been staying late to answer many of the emails and voicemails that are coming in. Many of their emails might go to spam, so please check there if you have not received a reply back in the 24 hours of a business day. They're very good at getting those tickets down, even when they come into something like 200. We try to call everybody. Some people, y'all have your mailbox full. We cannot leave a message, or will not take a phone call from certain numbers if the number's blocked or unknown. So please, if those are the cases, Please check your email. The best way to get a hold of us is going to be customercare@finerworks.com. That's going to be the fastest way for us to expedite helping you. But we look forward to next year. Wish you guys a happy new year, and thank you for joining us for these. And we look forward to any of your feedback.
All right.
All right. No, that was it, James. There's a wrap for 2022.
Thanks. We'll talk to you later. Bye.